We'll call the Board of Commissioners meeting to order here at 10:01. All those who are able, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, do we have any public comment for items not appearing on today's agenda? All right, seeing none. Any additions to the agenda from the commissioners?
None that I'm aware of.
All right. Moving on to meeting minutes. If the minutes are good for the 12th, we could take a motion.
I'll move to approve the minutes from the meeting held on November 12th.
I will make the second.
We have a motion, a second, to approve the minutes from the meeting held on November 12th. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We'll move on now to our resolutions. Natalie will cover 4 different resolutions, 3 of which are for local nonprofits.
I'm thankfully covering 3 resolutions.
Yeah, all right. Sorry,
And the
please,
4th will
read the
be
last one.
elsewhere. And I have guests for some of those. But the first one I'm going to do on my own first, and then I'll bring up the rest. So the first one is a resolution. All of these are for the Department of Community and Economic Development, their local share account grant. We had one before the board last week. These 3 remaining are all ones that we are partnering with local nonprofits in their hope to receive funding. So the first one is with our Central County's Youth Center. So that youth center is located here in Bellefonte, Benner Township, up near our own correctional facility. That's a 5-county collaboration that we are in with Clearfield, Clinton, Huntington, and Mifflin County. Our hope with this grant would be to provide them with some safety, security, and technology enhancements with this grant. Those will help the youth that they serve there in terms of technology and education, as well as just some upgrades to some security and safety that they would like seen in the facility as it's just typically aged. So our hope is for $200,000 in the grant application for Central County Youth Center.
Great, thanks, Natalie. Obviously, it covers multiple counties and benefits some of our more troubled youth here in Center County. Pass it over to Commissioner Concepcion. Any questions?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Seems like it's certainly something that's directly related to the county's mission. So.
All right, Commissioner Dersham, you've been on the board for many years.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's not a not-for-profit. It is a governmental agency,
All right.
technically.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
It is owned by Center,
counted for us.
Mifflin, Clearfield, Clinton, and Huntington County.
Huntington, yeah, sorry.
And so in that spirit, it serves a very distinct purpose in our community, actually in our region, and actually beyond our region, because we serve children not only in that 5-county area, but also across the state. And there is a distinct lack of facilities available to provide care for delinquent youth in this case. And this is a critical infrastructure part of what I consider for the court system here in Center County, but throughout the 5-county and beyond region. And I wholeheartedly support having sat on that board and knowing how difficult it is to run that facility, because quite frankly, children have become more and more complicated, let's say, over the course of time. And because of that, it's incredibly important that we support that organization with full throats. And I would certainly like to see them get these upgrades so we can continue to serve those children.
Yeah, very well said, Steve. All right, I'm assuming we could take a motion at this point.
I'll move to adopt Resolution 15 of 2024.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution number 15 of 2024. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. Motion carries. And then resolution 16, and hopefully we've got a representative.
We
here
do,
for
so
that
I'm going to
group.
welcome Dan up from the Bellefonte Historical Rail Society. They are submitting an application in the amount of $650,000, and he'll talk a little bit about what they plan on doing with it.
Morning, Dan. Thanks for
Good morning,
coming
guys.
on
Yeah.
very short notice.
Yeah, it was a very short notice, but I
Yes.
made it. So thanks for entertaining us here today. And of course, I'm with the Bellefonte Historical Railroad Society, an all-volunteer nonprofit organization. Our request for funding, we hope to target 4 specific purposes for the funding. One is continued restoration efforts and maintenance of our historic rail cars. I'm sure all of you guys have seen perhaps even some additional future equipment acquisitions. The second main point we're trying to cover is training our own personnel to operate our equipment. We currently hire the Nittany and Bald Eagle Railroad to operate for us, which is a major overhead expenditure. As we begin to operate our own equipment, we must also provide drug, hearing, and eye exams for our personnel. But despite that expenditure, it would really save us a lot of money and effort and not burden the local short line if we could operate our own equipment. The third item is maintenance and upkeep of approximately 1 mile of track we outright own in Lamont. This includes 2 paved grade crossings, and one of which is due for replacement right now, and we're addressing that as best we're able. The fourth and final thing is construction of a structure to house our 2 rail cars and additional holdings to prevent deterioration due to outdoor exposure. A structure would also provide our volunteers a safe and comfortable workplace to perform regular maintenance. That's all I have to say, and thank you guys for your continued and enthusiastic support.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Dan. We appreciate everything that the Bellefonte Historical Rail Society's done here over the last year or so. Remember when I was working with your board and also Brandy from Senator Dusher's office and Cindy from Congressman Thompson's office to work together to come up with some grant funding for you, but you did such a great job, plus some contributions from nonprofits, other charities, local organizations, businesses, and the Happy Valley Adventure Bureau. You've managed to pretty much do it yourselves, but now this is sort of the next step to professionalize your organization, cover a lot of your expenses, and have you be sustainable into the future.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you.
Great. Thanks. Well, Commissioner Concepcion.
Yeah, I think this is a real asset to our community. We know how exciting it is for families to be able to participate in these rides, and brings people into the community as well who are rail enthusiasts. So excited to see, continued work on enhancing, the assets you have. So.
More importantly, do we still have the Polar Express running?
We do indeed.
What are the dates?
We're having a little bit of struggle right now with some equipment, but we're going to get it done. We always do. Fingers crossed everything goes our way. We'll be operating the first 2 weekends, or the 2 weekends prior to Christmas. The first Saturday, which I believe is the 15th, sorry if I'm off by a day or two, will be our Victorian Christmas runs, the Sugar Plum Limited. The Sunday will be Candy Cane Express, the standard 1-hour rides with all the Christmas characters on board. And then the weekend before Christmas, both Saturday and Sunday, will feature the Candy Cane Express runs too.
So what I'm hearing is if you're successful getting the $650,000 that the Polar Express and all the other adventures that the train represents will continue verbatim.
It will only get better if I have anything to do about it, and we will continue to expand our collaborative efforts with places like Curtin Village. This year we had a run out to there during Apple Festival, and that was far and away the most popular event. It sold out very, very rapidly.
Really?
Yeah. So
Even
we're
faster
learning.
than Polar Express?
Actually, well, that's
Just checking.
that could be argued, but
right.
we still have seats available for the Polar Express. So,
There you go. All right, gotcha. All right, well, I think we're all excited
Yes.
to see you succeed, so we'll do everything we can to make that happen.
thank you very much.
So Christmas rides with the Bellefonte Historical Rail Society the 2 weekends before Christmas.
Correct.
And they should visit your website for more details and tickets.
BellefonteTrain.org.
Perfect.
Nice.
Great. Any questions from the press on this one? No. All right. Looks like we could take a motion on that.
Okay, I will move to adopt Resolution 16 of 2024.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution number 16 of 2024 for a local share account statewide grant for the Bellefonte Historical Rail Society. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Great. Thank you very much, Dan. And Natalie's got one more, and it looks like you have additional supporters for this one.
I do. So next up is the Juniata Valley Council. The gentlemen will welcome themselves up and introduce themselves. I'm going to get their IT information up so they can show some slides. So
Oh, great. Well, coming up, I think, is it Jeff, Rick, and David, or just one of you?
I'm going to go it alone here.
All right.
So I'm Rick Marbo. First, I want to start with thanking you 3 commissioners for your dedicated attendance at recognition ceremonies for our boys and girls. Your affirmation of their accomplishments means so much to the Scouts, parents, and leaders. So thank you for all your time spent with that. Our request today may seem unusual for a nonprofit camp to be asking for heavy equipment. And let me give you a little bit of background. Just a little bit of history. Our camp started 90 years ago in 1934. It's a year-round operation, 230 acres within Center County. A year ago, DCNR paved the road that goes right through the middle of our camp. However, we provide all the plowing to make it a year-round facility for the neighborhood as well as our facility. And in our 5-county area, we serve 2,400 Scouts and adults, plus all the out-of-council units. I think you have a pretty good sense of what our activities are at camp, because you've all been involved with Scouts before. Natalie, you want to go? So these are all the groups that we support outside, and we have over 110 reservations each year for use of our facilities. We serve 4-H, providing 2 to 3 of their summer camps per year, their adult training programs and so forth. We have weddings, DCNRs. We host mountain bikers, the Transylvania Biking Group, which brings people in internationally. So we are serving a wide variety of folks. Now, what's the need? I think, as Steve talked about, a lot of the nonprofits today are struggling to maintain or even have facilities. And as you saw from the groups that we host, we provide that facility for them. And so as part of that, we have a lot that we need to do in terms of upkeep, maintenance, upgrades for their programs, and so forth. Right now, we do a lot of equipment rental. We've spent over $100,000 in the last 2 years just on that. And so we're asking for 3 pieces of equipment, which is next. A dump truck, a tracked excavator, and a tracked loader. And so those are the 3 things that will give us all the equipment that's necessary for our volunteers to be able to do this maintenance and upkeep to support the camp's availability. So.
Great. Well, thank you for coming, Rick. I've been to the camp many times. A wonderful facility for probably about half the things you put up on the list there. And it sounds like if you're successful with this grant application, it might save you $40,000 or $50,000 a year in annual rental fees. And obviously the equipment will be up at the camp, so it'll be a lot easier and time saving for the volunteers. So this sounds like a tremendous opportunity. Commissioner Concepcion.
Yeah, this seems like a much more efficient way to be able to maintain the space, since you have volunteers who are able to help operate this. And I'm sure snow plowing in the winter will be just much easier with this
Yes.
kind of equipment. So, yeah. And I know, how much is going on there on a
Yeah.
regular basis, and it's hard to keep places like this open, and all the community support and support we can get from the state is really welcome. I've certainly spent time up there, and my son's done Klondike Derby and all those things in the winter, as well as, things that are occurring throughout with summer camps. So,
Commissioner Dershowitz.
Thank you.
Well, I don't know where to start. I think a lot of us cut our teeth at Seven Mountains that grew up in this area. Joe, I know you've spent many of adventure there. I mean, we look at Seven Mountains as an asset to our entire region. Again, we like to think it is a Center County thing, but it really, the Juniata Valley Council extends well beyond the boundaries of Center County and does such amazing things. We need to keep it alive and well. And again, it's one of those things that it is expensive to run a facility like that when you have hundreds of acres and a lot of infrastructure to upkeep and to keep it safe for kids. And that's really what the main focus of that camp is to provide boys and girls the opportunity to learn outdoor skills and spend time together in camaraderie and leadership. And it's a perfect, I think, a perfect use for these funds. And again, happy to support it. I know we are. very loud supporters of scouting, both boys and girls throughout the county, and we support you and your mission and the Girl Scouts and their mission. So it's all good.
Thank you.
And I think thinking back to the comment Commissioner Dershowitz made before about kids having more complex needs right now, and what we're seeing, in that, with some of the county services we need to provide, things like scouting are exactly the kind of, like the basis of strong support for kids that we want to see in our community, because that helps, with wellness and, a good foundation as they go forward. So.
When we go to an Eagle Scout Court of Honor, we often mention, we talk about the kids that maybe are struggling and maybe stumble along the way. You got to recognize these kids that do it right, and scouting is the opportunity for kids to learn the right path, get on a great path in life, and continue forward. And we are very blessed to have that facility in Center County. So.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. Any questions from the press? No? All right, looks like we could take a motion.
I'll move to adopt Resolution 17 of 2024.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt Resolution number 17 of 2024 for an application for the DCED Local Share Account statewide grant for the Juniata Valley Council for Seven Mountains Camp. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Great. Thank you very much, Rick
you.
and Jeff and Dave.
Aaron, close it. Thank you.
All right. Now for our...
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Thanks, everyone, for coming. Now for our fourth resolution, we have Kochi with talking about the bridge bundle.
We're asking you to approve Resolution 18 of 2024. This resolution amends the prior resolutions for the 2019 bridge replacement bundles. We're essentially adding an additional $663,116.16 of Act 13 at-risk bridge funds. The county will be receiving a multimodal agreement of $2,070,000, and construction costs on these two bridges came in at $3,854,000. So we need the additional Act 13 funds to be able to complete the construction. And the construction is to be completed by November of 2025. So things are gearing up here for early spring. So we just ask you to approve the resolution allocating that additional Act 13 funds.
Great, thanks for covering that, Kochi. And these are obviously very expensive, fairly large bridges that are well beyond the capacity of their local municipalities to actually replace. Do you have the list of the couple of bridges?
These are the two bridges. The one is on Railroad Street in Bellefonte Borough, and the other bridge is in Mill Street in Howard Borough. The Mill Street Bridge actually accesses the Bald Eagle State Park in the back area, and the Railroad Street Bridge in Bellefonte crosses over by the old Graymont facility into the Sunnyside area.
And I believe in both cases, this is pretty much the only way in and out to these neighborhoods and businesses. So without the bridge, you pretty much can't live in Sunnyside without this bridge. There's the same neighborhood there in Howard, no way, other way in and out. These need to be fixed, and they're beyond the capacity of their local municipality to cover.
Right, these have reached the replacement stage, so there's no rehabilitation. These are full replacements
So
on these
both,
bridges.
Both of those bridges are literally starting to fall apart.
Yeah.
Yeah. Commissioner Concepcion,
Yeah, sounds like that's what we need to do.
Commissioner Dershowitz.
Just curious, how much money do we have in the Act 13 account?
We have about $2 million in there, and $1.6 million is reserved for the bridge, the 2019 replacements. We also have another bridge that we're holding money for that's under construction currently, so that will take care of most of the Act 13 funds.
Now, the third bridge, where is that one?
It's in Walker Township.
Okay.
And just a heads up, we'll be coming forth with the liquid fuels funding resources. There's another bridge on there that we'll have discussions on, so.
Okay.
My one comment, I think I've made it before, is the Act 13 money is basically your natural gas drilling.
Yes, it's the Marcellus Shale monies,
Yes.
yes.
Yes, and I I would like to see an emphasis, if we could, moving forward, to keep the Act 13 money in the region, which is impacted by that drilling. That's just a thought that I've always had, that makes sense. So, just a thought.
All right. All right. Unless there's anything else, we could take a motion.
Okay, then I'll move to adopt Resolution 18 of 2024.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to adopt Resolution number 18 of 2024. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose nay. Motion carries. Great. Thanks,
Thank
Coach.
you.
Thank you.
All right. Now we have Mark Kellerman with a couple of items for tax assessment. Morning.
So I have two software upgrade agreements and a contract renewal for your consideration. The implementation and maintenance agreements to be discussed are software upgrades with Vision Government Solutions. In August, Center and many other counties were notified that maintenance for our current software will expire in December of 2025. In 2021, Vision acquired our current software developer, who is Evaluator Services and Technologies. And the former EST staff is now employed at Vision, so any conversion of data should go fairly smoothly, as those folks are familiar with the current software that we have. Most of the former EST clients have migrated or are committing to migrate to Vision, as Center County is. Vision currently serves 25 counties in Pennsylvania, and while they're out of Massachusetts, they've developed a Pennsylvania-specific software system to align with the statutes that we have to follow here in Pennsylvania, which are a little unique compared to other states. The total one-time implementation cost to upgrade to the Vision 8 CAMA software is $492,050. There is 10% to be invoiced at the signature of this agreement, and then 20% to be invoiced in April and October of 2025, and then 25% to be invoiced in April and October of 2026. We negotiated with Vision on a number of different things, including the cost, including the payment schedule, and certainly there was a lot of negotiations back and forth legal-wise with the agreements, and they've been very cooperative in everything that Center County and other counties, quite frankly, have asked for. After the one-time implementation service fee, there's only going to be the annual maintenance fee similar to what we have with our current software. The second agreement related to this is for the...
We'll need a motion on the first one, is
Okay.
what we have on the agenda. So appreciate you covering that in detail, and unfortunately, the thing to let the folks at home know is we really don't have a choice here.
We really don't have a choice. We have to have the software, and
Yeah.
the software contains data that's specific to Center County.
And we do appreciate both yourself and your association for negotiating better pricing and better payment terms and additional services from Vision Government Solutions to help in this sort of mandated cutover.
Yeah, it was quite a shock to all the counties to be notified, without a lot of leeway here to get this accomplished. So
Yeah.
it was a lot of quick work back and forth.
Yeah, so thank you very much for that. Commissioner Concepcion.
Yeah, I think, it's clear we have to do this because of, the lack of support for the current version of the software. It kind of highlights the expense incurred by counties in doing this tax assessment work, that this is a significant,
That expense was originally in excess of $600,000.
yeah, and I appreciate that, your negotiations brought that down.
Commissioner Dershowitz.
Well, I think our entire system of real estate taxation relies on the accuracy and reliability of the system, and I think it goes without saying that municipalities, school districts, and the county are umbilically tied to the success of your office. And I think, we're very happy that you negotiated this down to a more reasonable level, but hopefully it'll give us better service, and that's all good.
Yeah, I hope so.
Oh, just John.
So there may be ancillary paperwork that goes along with this project that will follow, and with the board's approval, I would keep the project moving and sign off on those documents under Resolution 2.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good. All right.
Then I'll make a motion to approve the implementation agreement and CAMA software agreement with Vision Government Solutions, Inc., pending final solicitor review.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the implementation agreement and CAMA software agreement with Vision Government Solutions, Inc., pending final solicitor review. All those in favor do so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. And sorry for interrupting you, Mark.
That's okay.
You cover the second one now.
The next part of this is the second agreement, which is for maintenance of this new software. The annual maintenance fee for this will be $68,515. Once we go live with the new software, they'll prorate our current EST Vision maintenance fee
Okay.
and apply the credit towards this Vision 8 subscription. A couple other points. With this new software, we're going to have the option of web hosting services for assessment data. Upon signature of this agreement, this was also part of our negotiations. They have offered to give us 1 year of free web hosting, and then after that, an annual fee of $16,715. So there's a lot of benefits to the new software. Some of them are integration with third-party tax and building permit software, easier staff training due to user-friendly design, streamlined workload management, and many analytical tools. Actually, an assessor will be able to set up a workflow to make sure that they don't miss any steps in this, and they have to finish that required workflow before the work can be completed. Vision's going to work closely with us on optimal timing for all these project milestones. Full implementation is expected in late 2025 or 2026. The exact time is going to be decided by my office in order to correspond with verification of data that's transferred, and then also with billing dates. So right now, I'm not sure if it'll be late 2025 or early 2026. I'll know that closer to the time once I'm satisfied with the data conversion and I know how close we are to billing dates.
Yep, understand. Glad that they're willing to be flexible based on your workflow, because I
Yes.
know you have multiple different times of the year when you're very busy.
Yeah, we have multiple deadlines we have to meet in order to get tax bills out.
One other question, Mark. If you say most of the states converting to this system,
Yeah, right now they're in 25 counties. They're going to be in more as this migration continues.
so there won't be a rush for service from this company. They'll be able
No.
to provide all the counties with the necessary resources.
Yeah, and that was one of the questions that we had. You know, you're asking a lot of counties to migrate at one time.
Right.
They've assured us that they've had staff. Frankly, they've hired a lot of county assessors to work for them in Pennsylvania.
You're busy.
Turn down the offer.
No, I'm very, very happy.
You're
very
busy
happy.
this week.
Would never leave Center County. But so that they have built up a good staff of Pennsylvania assessors to develop this software. And we've had phone calls with assessment offices who've already implemented this software just to see how things went, if there was any glitches, and things seem to be going smoothly. It's going to be a learning curve. I've been using the same thing for 23, 24 years, so it's going to be a bit of a learning curve. But we'll be working actually in both systems for a while. Just that's another way we verify the data. If I have say a condo that are all priced the same, I'll price it in the new system and verify that it's the same as in the old system. It should be, as the data, the tables and all the data will transfer over.
We kind of neglect to say sometimes thank you for the great job you do,
Yeah.
because this is just one element of a lot of different pieces of the pie that you're responsible for, of keeping land use and regulations and taxation and everything, and quite frankly, property value. When somebody buys a house, they want to know exactly what it is they're buying, and the metes and bounds of all that. So we appreciate that. So thank you.
Our staff thanks you.
Commissioner Concepcion, any comments or questions?
Yeah, I think it's been well said. So
All right.
Thank you.
Great, good question, Steve. All right, looks like we could take a motion then.
I'll move to approve the contract with Vision Government Solutions, Inc. for support of the camera system.
I will second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve the contract with Vision Government Solutions, Inc. for support of the CAMA system. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. Great. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you. So the next agreement we have for your consideration is a contract renewal for our current software. This is again between Center County and Vision Government Solutions. Vision will provide support
we
for our
have that on
computer
there.
assisted.
I thought we just covered that one.
No, this is for our old system. We covered the software, the maintenance agreement for our new system, should that become effective in 2025. Now I need to cover the old system for 2025.
We don't.
We don't have
It's
that
item
on the-
number 2 on the agenda.
We have the consider approval of the software implementation agreement and then
With Vision.
contract renewal with Vision to provide a support.
That's this, $42,672.
Oh, the second one is,
Yes, we
is
covered
maintaining
number-
support
we
for your
covered the
current
first
system.
one, now we're covering the
Oh,
second
okay.
one.
Oh, I thought
okay.
we had,
All right, I thought since you
I
were
thought that's
talking
what we had just
about
approved, yeah.
services,
Two motions.
We took two motions. We took one for the implementation agreement, and we took
Okay.
one for the maintenance agreement for the new system in 2025. Now we need to have an approval for the old system
Oh,
until we
okay.
transfer over to the new system in 2025.
all right,
So the first two motions, the actions could have been one.
one.
Right.
All right, okay, all right.
As you had talked about the website and all, I thought that was the support.
Yeah.
And, okay, I get it. Okay.
Oh, and Chema software, okay. All
So
right.
we're double,
Okay.
we're double
So we've
approved.
pre-approved the subscription agreement for the new software. And
Exactly.
we're now going to cover
Okay.
the contract renewal for the current
Because
software.
That may come into effect in
Because they're kind of run at the
2025.
same time.
Okay.
All right, sorry.
We did approve that just now.
We approved the first one. We need to approve the second.
Yes, so,
We approved the first one twice.
yeah, we approved the
We're
first
double-
one
We're
twice.
double
All right.
approved on the
Yeah.
first one.
Okay,
Okay.
all right,
Okay?
okay.
I thought that when you had talked about the web, I thought
Sure.
that was the support you
Yeah.
were
Me
referring
too.
to.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine. You know, this agreement is similar in that it's a contract renewal for maintenance of the old system for 2025 until we do a conversion into the new system for 2025.
Okay.
And, you know, been through this before, you've heard this before. It includes the online support, the software troubleshooting, assistance with problems. The contract period is January 1st, 2025 until December 31st, 2025, or until we switch over to the new system. And this contract total is $42,672 for the year. This is the one that I referred to would be prorated if we went into the new system in 2025.
So they will give us a refund on this 42,000
Yes.
prorated based on when in
Exactly.
the year we
Yes.
transfer over, okay.
Yeah, we're billed monthly on this, Steve, so.
Okay,
Okay,
gotcha.
all right.
So,
Take another motion. You
Okay.
probably have to use roughly the same wording.
okay, so then this is a motion to approve the contract with Vision Government Solutions, Inc. for support of the CAMA system
That we
for the
already
year
have.
of 2025.
No.
Okay.
All right, I will second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the contract for support of the current CAMA system. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, pose nay. Motion carries. Great. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to planning and community development. I believe Leslie's covering this, and it's two items for CEDACOG.
That's right. Good morning, Leslie
Morning.
Hilsterman with CEDACOG. I have two professional services agreements for your consideration this morning. The first agreement pertains directly to CEDACOG administering the county's federal fiscal year 2023 CDBG entitlement. And that, just put my glasses on here so I can see the numbers. The contract amount for that year is $465,164 for the time period of March 15th, 2024 to March 14th, 2028. I know it's hard to keep all the different years straight, so just as a refresher, projects that were approved for that fiscal year included restoration of the Gregg Township Community Center, Haynes, Woodward Municipal Authority, Mountain Avenue project, as well as a second year of funding for Bellefonte Borough's Talleyrand Park Suspension Bridge. And then the second professional services agreement with CEDACOG is for the administration of, it's actually additional CDBG COVID discretionary funding that was awarded specifically for the Penn Township Water Storage Tank Rehabilitation Project, which special thanks to the three of you for your support on that project. We did request a letter for additional funding as well as an extension of the timeline for that contract. and we're awarded that. So the amount of that contract is $186,420 for the period of June 25th of this year through September 30th of next year. And I'm happy to say that that project is finally off the ground. The township did secure all the necessary funding from multiple pools, resources, and so some site prep work had just gotten started earlier this fall. The storage tank has a delivery time of about 6 months, so we're still looking at substantial completion on this project toward the end of next summer. So that's really exciting to finally be getting that up and running. So really, I'm here just to, if you have questions about either one of those agreements, the language should look very similar or familiar to you, as CEDACOG's scope of services has not changed in recent years. The administrative fees are a certain percentage of each contract's total amount, with the exception of the Penn Township contract, which you noticed we are just charging an additional $1 for that entire contract, simply because it's an additional contract for that federal fiscal year and for a specific project.
Great. Well, thanks for giving us the deal on the
Sure.
additional contract.
Yeah, it's great. Great to be able to get that additional money for
Yeah.
the township, and like I said, much needed project. Any questions?
Wonderful. Commissioner Concepcion, any
No,
questions?
sounds good.
Commissioner
I just
Dershowitz?
have one. How are we doing on the competitive block grant?
Yeah, sure. So that application will be due in February. And I was just talking with Mr. Stolinos earlier before the meeting started that Tyler Dombrowski from my department and I are trying to coordinate a meeting with all the key players out at Eagle Creek. I've never been on site, so I think it would be a good idea for me to visit the site and to meet everyone in person. So I'm in the process of coordinating that meeting, and I would, once I kind of narrow down a date for that meeting, I'll invite the county if you'd like to attend or can be available to attend. That'd be wonderful. So then from there, we'll kind of take it one day at a time and gather all the necessary information to put together that application and submit it by the deadline.
Yeah, that's a priority project, and
Yeah,
it has been for a
absolutely.
while. We appreciate whatever you can do to make that happen. Thank you.
Third time's a charm, right?
Yes, hopefully so, hopefully so. But yeah, we definitely want to resolve the Eagle Creek issue because we have a shortage of affordable homes in the county to start with, and we can't afford to lose an entire neighborhood.
Great. Agree.
Thank you.
Any other
Thanks.
questions? Okay. We have to approve
We'll
the.
take a motion then.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the planning and community development items 1 and 2.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, to approve the 2 items for planning and community development. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Great. Thanks, Leslie.
Thank you.
And now Norm has an item for 911 emergency communications.
Good morning. Requesting a contract addendum with Tyler Technology to provide an interface for computer-aided dispatch for Power Ready, a police field training software to be used by Penn State Police. Power Ready will import dispatch incident information from CAD, and the information will be used for training new police officers. Since we hold the Tyler contract, the county will pay up front, and Penn State Police will reimburse the county for the full cost of the interface, so there'll be no overall cost to the county. The contract total is $2,480 and runs from November 26, 2024 to November 25th, 2025.
Great. Thanks for covering that, Norm. I suspect the folks at home do not realize the millions and millions of dollars of back office equipment, software, communication towers, et cetera, that are required for our emergency responders of all types to be able to communicate with each other quickly and seamlessly. And at this point, the funding from the phone fee for 911 doesn't even begin to cover those costs.
No, we spend an awful lot of money on other projects and equipment that's not covered.
Yeah. Commissioner Concepcion, any comments or questions?
So this is a program, this will allow the Penn State Police to, it basically provides this connection, but you said it's a training, so I guess I'm a little confused.
Yeah, they're
on what that is.
they're getting this software, and then it takes our CAD incident information and put in there, so when they're training people in the field, they can use this software to train their new officers when they're out in the field with their field training officer.
So is the reason the contract is coming through our
Yeah, because we
911
own the
because you
Tyler
own it, right.
contract.
Got it.
This is an interface to go from our software, Tyler software, to PowerReady.
Okay, sounds good.
Commissioner Dershowitz?
No, I think it's great. I think it just emphasizes, once again, our great relationship with Penn State and in regard to emergency communications.
Right. The
Appreciate
cooperative effort with
Yeah.
them.
I don't think a lot of folks realize that Penn State pays 20% of the cost of our operations and for our hardware, and that's a big that's a big chunk of money that they've contributed over the course of time. And obviously they're the beneficiaries of the use of it, but it shows a good cooperative.
Gives us a
model
really
for
good
our-
radio system countywide.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And we rely on them, and they rely on us.
Right.
And actually, it gives us some redundancy in regard to our dispatch system too. So.
A lot of redundancy.
Which is a good thing in this,
Yes,
in this
yeah.
field. Then I'll make a motion to add the contract with Tyler Technology to next week's consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to add the contract with Tyler Technology to next week's consent agenda. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Great. Thank you,
Thank
Norm.
you.
Thanks.
All right, now we have something from the coroner's office. Okay, there's Deb. Two
waiting
items,
in line.
actually.
Good morning. First off, I want to thank everyone for addressing us today and giving us time to talk to you concerning the actual renewal of the working contracts with the Department of Health. We all know that the coroner's office is becoming more and more involved and intense, and the monies for softwares, as you've been discussing all along, is out of sight. I'm proposing that you sign the contracts to obtain grant monies from the Department of Health to be used to assist with the, as in previous years, assist with the technology upgrades along with other technical advances to improve the security and standardization of our office. This would help with reporting and documentation for caseload, as well as addressing the bridges from our office to the Department of Health to generate death certificates through vital statistics in conjunction with funeral homes to help the decedent's families to computerize and update that all into bridges that would help out to get the information provided where it needs to go in order to use. The contracts that I'm asking you to sign or consider signing are two. One which is the Department of Health for violent death reporting. These monies are available from statistics for 2023. Luckily, in knowing people from the Department of Health over many years that I've been in the office, these monies have come forth now, and I've been informed of such, so I would like to tap into those for a total of $10,000 in revenue. One of our upgrades that's really needed in the office is to work with our software company to go to electronic signatures and watermarking of all our documents so that we don't have to do the red stamp thing and sign everything manually. So that'll help out with reporting. Those are statistics from 2023, but that money has just come through. The second is the Department of Health Office of Drug Surveillance and Misuse Prevention. I've been doing this for probably 8 to 10 years, right, Steve? This is another, a secondary $10,000 that comes in increments of $5,000, and that contract's been signed many times to continually provide the increments of monies to the office in order to use for advancement in the office. We've used it for iPads for the field. We've used it to upgrade the furniture within our office years ago. And we usually put it to use within our system to bring our office to bring all its systems up to date as we progress in the years. With that being said, I would hope that you would consider signing these contracts so we can continue to get this grant resources for our office.
Great. Thanks, Deb. Any questions, Commissioner Concepcion?
Yeah, so thanks for keeping track of these grant opportunities and ensuring that we have.
Well, it's nice to have people in, I don't know if it's high or low places, but I made quite a few connections in the 25 years, so it works out
Okay,
sometimes.
thank you.
Thanks. Commissioner Dershowitz, anything?
Well, I think, well, first of all, thanks to the state for providing these funds. Our legislators have been very generous in making sure, and we use these as tracking devices for year-to-year stats on particular drug overdose cases.
And domestic violence. Domestic violence is becoming more and more involved in our office.
So it's multidimensional.
Multidimensional, yes, from infant to adult.
I know our criminal justice planning folks work with the HOPE
Yes, we work
initiative, and I know
closely
you've
with
been
them.
Part of that for a long time of tracking these numbers, and luckily, Center County has been probably below the trend as far as
Yes.
as some of these
Goodness.
overdose deaths, but you need to be vigilant. You need to stay on top of things and provide law enforcement and the medical community the data that they need to help us to fight this, and,
Right.
and that's what you're doing. So
Right.
we really appreciate that.
We provide these statistics to the Department of Health, which it branches out. We also provide suicide prevention statistics, suicide statistics. And with our softwares, which helps everybody in general, it's somewhat easier than to go through and paper pencil everything. So it's monies that would be used very intentionally for such projects, so that we could help out with statistics, so we can get information out to the communities with our overdoses, and see the trends that we're in and what's happening and the age brackets it's affecting, and things of that nature.
Well, thank you.
Great, thanks. You have any questions, do you? All right, looks like we could take a motion then.
I'll move to approve the coroner's items 1 and 2.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, to approve the 2 items for the coroner's office. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Great.
We
Thank you.
appreciate working with you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you.
And is Jonathan somewhere out there? Oh, you'll cover it, John? All right.
Yeah. Before you for consideration are the approval of August, September, October pay applications in the amount of $191,268.18 to JG Contracting for the courthouse retaining wall replacement project.
All right. Thanks, John. Any questions, Commissioner Concepcion?
This is, part of a scheduled payment.
Commissioner Dershowitz?
Nope, we're good.
All right.
I'll move to approve the payment applications to JG Contracting Company Incorporated.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the payment applications to JG Contracting Company Incorporated. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thanks, John. We have one human service item that Julia will cover.
Good morning. I'm in front of you with a contract addendum number 1 with Crossroads Counseling Incorporated to approve a rate increase so they're able to match the current Health Choices rate for outpatient, intensive outpatient, and medicated assisted treatment services. It would increase, it's $1,982. It would increase the contract from $2,005,000 to $3,024 $324,082, with the county's portion being $2,701.
Great. Thanks, Julia. And we appreciate our partnership with Crossroads Counseling.
Absolutely.
Commissioner Concepcion, anything?
No, sounds good.
Steve?
Good to go.
All right.
I'll move to add the contract addendum number 1 with Crossroads Counseling to the next week's consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to add the contract addendum number 1 with Crossroads Counseling, Inc. to next week's consent agenda. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thanks, Julia. And kind of a medium-sized consent agreement.
Okay, I'll move to approve this week's consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve this week's consent agenda. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. And then believe we've got Natalie back up again for a letter of support with College Township. She ended up getting called into a meeting, perhaps?
She may have, if you,
Yeah, if you could cover it, John.
yeah, before you for
Yeah.
consideration is a letter of support for College Township as they pursue a LSA or a local share account statewide grant from DCED to support the construction of the College Township regional bike and pedestrian path.
Great, thank you for covering that, John. I believe that's going to help take people off of the shoulder of College Avenue due to all the new construction in that part of College Township.
It's a busy,
So,
busy area.
busy area, definitely a safety aspect to this, not just, of course, for the pedestrians, but also even for the motorists.
For sure.
Yes.
All right. Any questions, Commissioner Concepcion?
No, I think this is, part of an effort that they've been working on for several years to assemble the grant funding, local funding, some funding from the developers that have built some of the apartments there. But it's an important project for as you mentioned, the safety of pedestrians and drivers. So
Commissioner Dershowitz?
Good, thank you.
All right.
I'll move to approve the letter of support for College Township.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the letter of support with College Township. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We have a check run. Commissioner Concepcion?
Yeah, the check that I would like to highlight today from our check run is for Center Helps. They're one of our partners in the mental health space. They operate a crisis line for anyone who is in crisis is able to call and get connected to services or to some immediate counseling there. With that, I would move to approve the check run that is dated November 15th.
I will second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the check run dated November 15th. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Is there any administrator's report, John?
Nothing to report at this time.
All right. Moving on to reports and announcements. I'm assuming we don't have a voters registration
week.
report? Not this week. Moving on to the regular announcements, the Board of Commissioners meeting on November 26th has been canceled to allow the board to attend the County Commissioners Association of Pennsylvania Fall Conference. Center County government offices will be closed on Thursday, November 28th and Friday, November 29th in observance of the Thanksgiving holiday. Also wanted to mention we have Small Business Saturday coming up on November 30th, right after Thanksgiving. And there is free parking in downtown State College, and there's also free parking in Bellefonte, although I believe it's for roughly 2 hours at a pop. So happy to have you shop in any of those of our small downtowns. And for the smaller downtowns, I don't believe there are parking charges in Phillipsburg or Millheim or Bollesburg or any number of our other smaller downtowns in the county. But obviously, if you shop local, the money stays local. You're employing your friends and your neighbors. If you purchase from the large company named after the world's largest river, roughly a penny of your dollar stays in the area, and that's basically to pay the delivery driver. So please do consider shopping locally, not just on Small Business Saturday, but every day of the year. Do we have any executive sessions to report or hold, John?
No executive sessions to report or hold.
All right. For our public meeting schedule, we have a work session at 11 a.m. today, and on Thursday the 21st, Finance Committee at 9, Combined Board of Commissioners and Salary Board meeting at 10, and Board of Elections meeting at 3 p.m. I'll now hand it over to Commissioner Concepcion, the chair of our Board of Elections, with an elections-related matter.
Yeah, there's been some questions related to how Center County made decisions in our canvassing of election results, and I'd like to clear up some of the misreporting that has been present in the national media. We're aware of several misrepresentations in the national media regarding the election results and the counting of ballots in Center County. We recognize the information that was presented by the national media on Center County's ballot counting may have been taken from recent pleadings in the Pennsylvania Supreme Court or based upon press releases from political parties. Those filings and press releases, however, do not correctly state the facts related to Center County and undated mail-in or absentee ballots. To set the record straight, Center County did not have any undated mail-in or absentee ballots brought before the Board of Elections during the counting of ballots. All issue mail-in or absentee ballots in Center County were reviewed by the board at its November 7th, 2024 meeting, a publicly advertised election meeting. During this meeting, the board considered many ballots having date irregularities, with only 3 ballots being approved to be counted, which were subsequently challenged. Of those 3, 1 ballot had too many characters in the date boxes, and on another, the voter had changed a 1 to a 0 to symbolize the month as 10. Both challenges to these ballots were withdrawn in litigation before the Center County Court of Common Pleas. The third challenge related to a ballot where the voter wrote the day as day, month, year, rather than month, day, year, a military or European date format that guidelines from the Pennsylvania Department of State advised to be an acceptable format. The court did not rule on that challenge, however, because the petitioners had failed to take their appeal from the board's decision within the required 2-day period for such appeals. So I'd like to reiterate those were 3 ballots that were in question, and as I've described above, we were following guidance from the Pennsylvania Department of State and courts in how we made those decisions. No other challenges to any mail-in or absentee ballots remain in Center County, Pennsylvania. In closing, the Center County Board of Elections followed all guidance provided by the Pennsylvania Department of State, as well as all relevant court decisions. Any other commissioners would like to make a comment? I know Steve's the...
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, at the Toys for Tots breakfast this morning, as I was signing in, an older couple said, we hope you counted our son's ballot. And I'm like, what? They said, well, our son's military, and he voted by mail, so it's quite possible that the one with the military date could have been our son. So they appreciated our counting the military date on the single ballot, which was, I believe, the only ballot that was actually challenged in Center County. And as Commissioner Concepcion mentioned, they missed the deadlines on that. So we followed all rules. We followed, to the best of our knowledge, all guidance. The total number of ballots at issue originally was 3, and then during the court case it was dropped to 1. And this is not anything close to what has been reported nationally by a broad variety of media organizations. So we wanted to clear that up, but I'll hand it over to Commissioner Dersham, who's been at this for 21 years.
Yes. I first want to start with the fact that we have 3 personalities up here, and we work together on a weekly, almost daily basis. And I think all 3 of us, and I think I speak for all 3 of us when I say we take voting and the counting of ballots incredibly serious. It is really it is our most important job here in Center County. We think about all the services that we provide, but the one service we provide to our community and to our county is to make sure that we run fair and honest elections. All 3 of us are committed to that goal. We don't always agree, and we've had robust conversations about that, and I think some of you may have been party or witness to some of that. But at the same time, this particular situation to me is very disturbing. We were thrown into a bucket of soup with counties that obviously thumbed their nose at what would be considered reasonable decisions from our state Supreme Court. That was not us. Somehow we got put into that situation. We were called lawless. I would tell you that of this group, there was never, ever, and has ever been any indication that what we've tried to do was nothing more than make sure the citizens of Center County's votes were counted. We are committed to that, and we will continue to be committed to that. And honestly, yesterday we did our 2% audit and came within just a couple of votes of being absolutely accurate, which is an amazing thing when you figure out you're filling out 400,000 little bubbles, and how those little bubbles get filled out, and you only have 1 or 2 changes in that. That's amazing. There are counties that have dozens and dozens. We are committed to the accurate counting and preservation of the voting rights of our people. And I will tell you, it's very disturbing when we have both local entities and national entities that provide disinformation as to how we do things here in Center County, because we are committed. And I want to say thank you to the Center Daily Times for running an incredibly accurate article on the court proceedings on Monday morning. I want to say thank you to all the other folks that have listened as we've tried to explain countless times what's happened in this situation. But it has been explained. This is over 3 ballots. 3 ballots. 2 of which were dismissed during that hearing, and the last one involved military and European dating. Well, if you know anybody who's in the military, that's what they're ingrained to do. They write the date a certain way. I'm not going to disenfranchise somebody because they use military ballot language. And until somebody specifically says to me that that's wrong, I'm going to consider it right, because I'm not going to disenfranchise those folks. So that's where I'm at. I hope everybody understands and appreciates that we are working hard for you. And we still have one more recount to do for the U.S. Senate race that begins on Thursday. But we have, I think, run a very square election. The numbers are coming out very good, and hopefully the numbers on Thursday come out perfect, and we can move on to another election cycle next year. But I will make another plea to our state legislators and our governor to please clean up whatever language you can from Act 77 so we can move on and not have the courts decide for us either days before an election or in the middle of the election counting process how we are supposed to do business. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Very well said. I'll also put a plug in for pre-canvassing so that we have at least a couple of days before the date of the election to start opening up the mail-in ballots, even if they're not counted at that point. It's very difficult to take a department with 4 permanent staff and take it up to almost 1,000 people on general election day, especially in presidential years. It'd be great if we could have people start at least a few days beforehand slitting open the mail-in and absentee envelopes.
Well, I'm going to add one other thing to Mark's comments, and that is Melanie Bailey and our staff,
Yes.
and literally almost 1,000 people that make this happen. And John, I know you've been an integral part of this. I mean, pretty much everybody on our staff has touched the election process in some way, shape, or form in a very positive way to make it happen. This is not easy. 20 years ago when we were having elections, it was pretty much cut and dried, the process. That process has become much more complex, much more convoluted, and certainly much more litigated than I would have ever imagined. And as we move forward, I would just say thank you to those folks that maneuver these tough waters and still give us very fair and accurate elections. So thank you all.
Great point, Steve. Yeah, we talked about the bomb threat last week, but yes, this week it's an ongoing process. Melanie moved here, I believe, in July, and she's done a fabulous job. And of course, we have Tish and Jody, who've worked in that department for in the ballpark of 20 years each, and of course, all of the additional county staff, the other staff in the elections department. The fact that we had a lot of our county commissioner office staff handling a broad variety of items. It's been a rough month, but I think we're finally emerging here, and hopefully the national media will correct what they've been putting out there for the last 48 hours.
One last point, and I mentioned it earlier. Yesterday we did our 2% statistical audit. That was accomplished by the efforts of both the Republican and Democratic Party working in teams to recount 1,900 votes by hand. That is no small that's no small chore, and they did it in one day, and they did it accurately, and it was a very, very successful process. So we are learning literally on the fly. As the circumstances change and the requirements change, we are doing what we can to make sure that these elections are fair and honest. And I really do believe that we've got a top-notch crew here in Center County doing an amazing job. And I will stand behind them any day of the week when it comes to credibility and hard work. So.
Kudos to Melanie. I thought that would take 2 days. Sorry.
I would also say to the point of how professional our staff has been in making sure this election is very well run. We had a very small number of ballots this year, or this fall, even compared to the spring with the primary, where there was very low turnout in the primary, extremely high turnout, record number of ballots cast in the fall general election, but we had a very small number of ballots, far fewer even than in the spring, that had any kind of an issue with the way the date was written. And I think that speaks to both the effort on the part of our elections office to make some modifications to the design of the envelope so that it was really large and clear to people what they needed to do, as well as implementing use of short code so that voters were notified if there was a concern with their ballot that they had mailed in or dropped in a drop box. And they were able to correct that issue either by coming into the elections office and casting a new mail-in ballot to replace the one that was canceled, or voting provisionally, which a number of voters took advantage of that opportunity. But this smaller number of ballots that were at issue really speaks to the work that our election staff did, certainly in the month also coming up towards the election as they were processing these. We had, anyone who was here in our office knows there were, lines of people at the, who came here to drop off their ballots in person because they wanted to make sure that, someone had an eye on it. And so, it really created like there was a tremendous amount of work that the result of that we can see in, the very small number of issue ballots that we had to adjudicate. So.
The other thing is, we have seen an incredible effort by both political parties and, I guess, everyone to expand the reach of mail-in ballots. Well, with that expansion has to be the acceptance of the fact that not everything is going to be 100% perfect, and we as an election board are going to do the very best we can to interpret what we think are the court decisions, but make sure that whether you're a 75-year-old who's voting from a hospital bed, or whether you're an 18-year-old voting for the first time, that your ballots are counted appropriately. And that's important, because if you're gonna if you're gonna have a system, it's got to be fair, and it's got to be reliable, and it's got to be, certain expectations have to be made about how the counting process is going to operate. And I think we've done a pretty good job here in this election cycle to make sure that we've been fair, and we like to continue that into the future and keep the confidence of our voters intact.
Yeah, which made it very disappointing after all of these efforts that the national media didn't do the local outreach that they should have done to make sure they had accurate facts about with the decisions that were made in Center County, and just assuming that we were acting in a similar fashion to some of the other counties where there were more, somewhat more significant numbers of ballots at issue and some different decisions that were made based on some different thinking than what we had employed here. It's just disappointing that they didn't reach out to check the facts on the ground before printing those, talking about us, lumping us in with some really different decision making.
And I'm just going to go one further thing. We in Center County also had the opportunity and used it to have CNET come in and televise every one of our election board meetings where the counting was done.
Right.
Yeah. So it's not like this wasn't a transparent process. It's not like we were trying to hide anything. This was all done, and thank you, Stephanie, for putting in countless hours of film time. So we are trying to do what we can do to keep things transparent and moving forward. So,
and not counting the dozens of poll watchers
not to mention
spread all over the county as well.
Yeah.
Also, for the most part, volunteers. All right, so as you can tell, the commissioners are more than a little bit upset about the misrepresentations in the national press about what happened here in Center County for what initially involved 3 ballots and eventually was down to a single ballot. But maybe we should stop talking and take questions now. Yes, Jacob.
Well, I had a couple questions, but in your statements you've answered a couple of them. So first I'll say thank you on behalf of Brett Pilato, the reporter that wrote the story that you gave the good word to. I'll tell him that. I'm going to see him right after this. And so I'll let him know that you all had positive things to say about it. But I did have a election adjacent question. Now that we're a couple weeks past Election Day, there was a software error that caused the recount of 13,000 mail-in ballots, and I was wondering if any more specific details were able to be provided about what that malfunction was and what could be done in the future to prevent something like that from happening again.
I'm assuming since it's pretty technical, since Melanie isn't here, we'll hand it over to John, who is also partially involved in the situation.
Sure. So there was a past practice where what we would have to do is take the scanned ballot data from the machines and transfer that into our election software.
Yeah.
That process, at no point does it touch the internet.
Okay.
That's the first point that needs to be made. When we extract the ballot data, it goes on to a proprietary drive, like a thumb drive. But it's not like something you pick up at Best Buy. This is proprietary to the election equipment provider.
Yeah.
What we used to do is you could take that stick and you could burn it or program it so that when you took it off of the machine, the election software could recognize what it was seeing on the stick. And we could program multiple machines with that single stick. Our understanding now is from the provider that there was an update that occurred that no longer allowed us to take a single stick and program multiple machines.
We had 3 machines at the vote by mail center
Yeah.
that this would have impacted.
Right. So, and that was never conveyed to the county nor to our rep. And we had not heard anything from any of our affiliated organizations either relative to this. So our understanding now is that whenever we burn or program these sticks for the transfer of the data, each machine has to have its own stick. And so what happened was we used a single stick to program 2 of the 3 machines. They were the same model, and we thought we were safe in programming that stick to update the 2 machines. And we found out the hard way that you couldn't do that any longer.
But the upside of that is, we knew what the sum total was, and we recounted the ballots and got the sum total again.
Yeah.
So it really was a very effective tool at double checking it ultimately. So, although it took a number of hours to accomplish the
Our
task.
hardware vendor worked on it all night, and when we came back in the morning, they're like, no, we can't get you your individual precinct data. We got grand totals, but obviously we need the precinct data. So at that point, we made the decision, we're going to stop trying to recover the data from the sticks, and we're going to have to rescan roughly 60% of the mail-in ballots.
This is probably the most recounted election that I can recall
Yes.
in the time that I've been here. So it's been checked and double checked and now soon to be triple checked. So
Yep.
Awesome. Well, that's all I had since you already touched on the U.S. Senate account. So thank you all.
Thanks. Gary?
So if you had the Supreme Court decision from yesterday and 2 weeks ago, would those 3 contested ballots still be an issue in Center County?
Pretty sure they wouldn't be.
I don't think it would have changed anything that we did.
So the one ballot, which was the military European format, there was DOS guidance on that. So the decision that was made by the Board of Elections actually was in accordance with DOS guidance. The court never had the opportunity to render a decision on that challenge because the appellant didn't meet the 2-day deadline for an appeal.
It's a good question.
Do you understand, and I rip the media all you want, the confusion between where you're talking about Department of State, you're talking about courts, and why the general public is going, why is all this confusion? I understand you're talking about more from the legislature being done. It's a confusing issue for us to follow.
Yes.
So I'm just saying, it's...
Gary, it's a confusing issue for us to follow. Because literally, when we start the election process, we have one set of rules we're playing by, and they're changing along the way numerous times. And, literally within, 2 weeks after an election, you now have another decision saying, hey, we need you to do this. Well, we already knew what the guidance was. We didn't need a reminder in that regard. What we needed was just an understanding that we are humans that are making decisions based on imperfect information. Just every date's not going to be perfect. Not every 1 is going to look like a 1. Not every 2 is going to look like a 2. So it depends on your level of scrutiny and your level of discrimination about what you want your election to look like. And I think what we've done here has not only been reasonable and transparent, but I think it follows the letter and spirit of the law and the court decisions that follow it.
So Amber, what's the schedule now? You did the 2%, you're going to do the Senate recount Thursday. What's the schedule to finalize the results?
So I think the Senate recount will be tomorrow and the next day. So we have an elections meeting on Thursday at 3 o'clock in this room to certify the final result.
And again, the Supreme Court decision will not impact the upcoming recount at all?
I don't think that's really relevant to what we're doing with the recount. This is simply a matter of rescanning the ballots that we've already canvassed. And, we'll rescan them through the machines one more time on different machines than they were originally scanned on in order to recount that particular race. But we still have to run all of them through because the Senate race is on every ballot that that was in Center County. So
Our ballots have already been uploaded to the Department of State, so they have all our data at this point.
yeah, there's nothing with the recent Supreme Court ruling that changes any of the counting in Center County.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Oh, yes, Jacob.
I just thought of one more.
Yeah.
You mentioned national, media companies and such representing misinformation in their articles. I was unaware of that before this meeting, and I didn't know if you'd be able to refer me, or point me in the direction of some of those articles.
I'm not going to dignify them with a
We can
response. So you
do that later. I can send it
research it
myself,
if you will. I think, again, I'm going to speak for the board when I tell you that we worked very hard over the last several weeks, months, to make sure this election was a success. And I know counties across the state have, and I know maybe the election didn't go for some people the way that they would wished, but ultimately, the people have spoken, and we have to respond to those numbers and report and reflect them accurately, and that's what we've done.
Yeah, and the fact that on the news release, only, I think, roughly 4 counties were mentioned, wouldn't have been that hard to pop an email off to each of those 4 counties saying, hey, we've read an article that says X. Is that really the case? And did we even have one of them contact us, John?
Yes.
We did have one contact us. But perhaps we didn't get the response there before they hit their publication time.
There's a county in southeastern Pennsylvania that openly defied the will of the Supreme Court. We were not them.
Yeah. And yet, if you were reading the article, it sounded like we were.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Unless there's anything else for the good of the order, we can take a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion, a second to adjourn at 11:17. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We'll start our work session here in just a couple minutes. Sure.